sister's a therapist and I tell jokes. We both want to help all kinds of folks.
Hello, and welcome to My Sister's a Therapist. Suddenly I wanted to be like Carl Sagan, and welcome to My Sister's a Therapist. People, you know about my sister and how she's a therapist. My name is Virginia Jones. I'm a stand-up comedian who has done over 2,000 gigs. I have a sister, and she is a therapist.
Hello, I'm Laura Ryan. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, but my main credit is sister to Laugh Vader, Virginia Jones. I'm going to say my sister's Virginia Jones. She's recorded over 93 episodes of our podcast.
That's right. So has Laura Ryan. My 19th anniversary as a stand-up comedian is coming up in a couple weeks. And it's interesting because I noticed that it's longer than any relationship I've ever had apart from family relationships. It's really something. I just keep doing it.
I feel the same. I started my private practice in 2006. So next year will be 20 years.
In this show, we trade making up a topic. The person whose topic it is not does not know what is happening. This week it is my topic.
So I get to be the dummy.
This week's topic starts with a question. Have you ever gone to great length to maintain a plan or routine to keep in your schedule? And my example, I had a boyfriend that I would see usually on Friday nights. Because sometimes I was gigging Saturday nights or doing other stuff, but Friday nights, that was date night. On a Friday afternoon, a tire popped on my car, and my car had run flat tires, which means the tire basically becomes a spare, and you never have to do a tire change by the side of the road. But you're kind of not supposed to go great distances in them. And then this dude was like 45 minutes away. So I said, no problem. I went to a tire shop and they said, well, we don't have run flats. And I had them put a new tire on my car that I knew I would be discarding just because, well, it's Friday night. I got to get up there. What I probably should have done is cancel my plans and gone home and said, we'll do it another time. My compulsion to maintain my schedule and keep up my commitment to this person led me to spend $300 that I did not have. Can you think of anything where you've done a weird thing in order to keep what in retrospect was not an important schedule?
I remember when I was leaving my husband, I was really struggling because I needed to move all my stuff out of the house before he came home. I was leaving an abusive situation. And I remember talking to my therapist and saying, I don't know what to do because the mover said they could come on this Thursday, but I have a full schedule. And she said, cancel your appointments. Tell them it's a family emergency because it is.
And sometimes that's what you need is an outside person to help you with perspective. I have had stuff where a family member, not a direct family member, but my spouse's family member was dying and I was still coming to work and my boss was like, you need to take bereavement leave. My impulse is to just keep doing things that I've been doing.
Keep on trucking.
The kid in Whiplash is in a severe car accident and then tries to play drums in a competition. And he has other problems, but he just was powered to keep it going. And I think that human beings have an immense desire to get through the next 15 minutes. This is an idea from a book that I'm reading that I've brought up a couple of times. Now it's a topic.
I think that we have a tendency to just want to keep the social norms norming. I think about Dad sometimes on the day he died. He couldn't have felt that great. He must have felt bad, but he had to get to that meeting.
That's a good example because he is someone that everything revolved around work and there was never anything more important than work. I think with the frequency of incidents he was experiencing, I think he felt pretty bad most of the time.
Maybe so. I just feel like the day you die probably is a little bit different than all the other days that you didn't die.
Right. But you don't know,
Right.
You know, that's a rear view thing. A friend of mine had an EKG incident and she had been experiencing high heart rate, but chalked it up to, I'm tired. I ate something weird, something. When she finally got into the doctor, they were like, oh, you need to go to the ER right now. And we need to have an operation on you today. And she said her first thought was, I can't do that. I've got a Zoom meeting at 4.
I think we just want to keep things, quote unquote, normal. Specifically, women don't want to be a bother to others. We don't want to rock the boat at all. We don't want to advocate for our own needs. I'd had a physical altercation with my husband. I needed to get out of the house. He was not a safe person. I couldn't do it with him there. Obviously, I can't go to work one day.
Right. I have done some pretty weird things regarding comedy. The day I was sterilized, I did comedy. That was also partly because I just wanted to prove that I could do it. I'm very tough. I don't know what's wrong with me. The day after my husband asked me for a divorce, I did comedy and I remember that it was a road gig. So it was something that had been planned ahead of time and I was getting paid a small amount of money to do. And my friend Pete was coming and all these things. And the whole drive up, I didn't tell Pete what was happening because I felt like if I opened that gate, it would all flood out and I wouldn't be able to keep it together to do a show in a casino in Sequim, Washington, which wasn't going to do anything for my career. And I was backstage and I was talking to the very nice headliner, a very nice musical comedian. And we were just chatting and he asked me, and how about you? Are you married? And I was about to step on stage and I said, oh, I was married up until recently, I guess. And I started welling up and he saw me crying and he says, okay, you need to compartmentalize. You need to just stuff that down for now. You just need to get out there for 30 minutes and then you can have this feeling. But it was helpful. I mean, Laura's making grimaces, but it was helpful. I should not have been there. I should have canceled. In that case, I think that I thought I was just tough enough. And I got through it. Did I do the very best job I could? No.
But you were in Sequim, so who cares?
Exactly. Nothing that happens in Sequim, Washington is ever going to matter to anyone.
No offense to the people who live in Sequim.
I'm sure that a lot of our listeners are from Sequim in the Olympic Peninsula. After the show, some of the audience members said, do you guys want to meet us at the bar? And we said, oh, what bar? And they looked at us confused and they were like, the bar. And there was one bar and it was called The Ugly Mug and everybody was there. The book I'm reading is called Open Socrates, The Case for a Philosophical Life. And the author is Agnes Callard. Her theory is that part of the thing that motivates us to just get through our regular schedule, our whole life, we're trying to just get through the next 15 minutes. T.S. Eliot said in a poem, I have measured out my life with coffee spoons. Life is just these little chunks. Then you're going to string them together. And at the end of it, you're going to die. And then that's life. Her theory is that we do this to keep from thinking about the big questions, thinking about whether you should have taken off work, the fate of your relationship. Why are we here? What am I doing? Are these the things I should be doing? We fill up our life with busyness in order to avoid deeper conversations.
The moral questions.
Yes. But also we have a limited capacity for processing information. We're just little cavemen out in the world. Sometimes in the moment, it's hard to weigh options and understand what the better choice is to make. And routines are something that feel very good for humans. This is from an article about whether it's routines or OCD. Tamar Chansky says the routines help us to be more efficient and happier. OCD is you're feeling like you have to do things a certain way because if not, something bad will happen. And I think that sometimes people will say casually, oh, I have a real OCD about this. I'm really OCD about getting to my tanning appointment. And you're not.
OCD means I have to tap the inside of my car door 15 times before I get out or I will die.
I used to have a little tiny compulsion because I had a traumatic incident. One time I did not set my parking brake on my car and my car rolled into another car. Luckily, it was a real POS, the car that I hit. It was terrible. It was a very expensive mistake. Since then, I've always been compulsive about checking the parking brake on my car.
I had one OCD thing that I used to do when we were kids. The rule was I would wash my hands and then I would hit the toilet lever. And if I could make it to the bottom stair by the time the toilet flush had completed, I was going to live.
I don't think we talk enough about the number of children who die because they don't get down the stairs fast enough after the toilet flushes. And I think we need to do something. There should be legislation.
I think we don't talk enough about the level of anxiety I had as a child.
We were in a chaotic situation and you were finding your own tools to get through it. And that was a pretty weird tool, but that is okay.
Cess Levi.
In this book, she introduces talking about Leonard Tolstoy. He's rich, he's successful, he's written Anna Karenina. Everybody loves him. All the Russians love him. He has a big house, he has a big estate, he's managing his estate, he's working on educating his children. He's gotten everything he ever wanted from life. He says, what will come of my life? What does life actually mean? He realized he was doing all these things to avoid that question, to avoid asking, what does life actually mean? What am I doing? And his quote about it is, how a man can see this and go on living, that's what's astonishing. You can only live as long as you're drunk with life. But when you sober up, which for Tolstoy is examining himself, you can't help but see that all this is just a stupid fraud. So he started not having rope in the house and not going hunting because he thought he would probably take his own life because he just realized that it was all meaningless.
It reminds me of that quote from another incredibly problematic person, John Lennon, who said, life is what happens when you're making other plans.
That is a true thing. We think we have control over our lives. Another lie we tell ourselves is that we have complete autonomy. We don't have feelings. That's something that I've told myself many times. We don't have needs, and we can just do whatever we're supposed to do. And we can just keep going like little robots, but we cannot.
We can do that. That is one way to do it. But then you have a heart attack in the middle of the grocery store and nothing was planned.
The 15-minute segment is also about the idea of instant gratification, also speaks to hyperbolic discounting. And this is like the Stanford marshmallow test. You would offer a child, you can have one marshmallow now, or if you wait 15 minutes, you can have two marshmallows, twice the marshmallows. And the kids would always choose the first marshmallow because that's right now. The concept of hyperbolic discounting is the tendency to prefer smaller immediate rewards over larger delayed ones. And I guess that's part of our brain saying, I don't know what tomorrow holds.
And I see this marshmallow right here in front of me. What if the building gets bombed in the next 15 minutes and then I get 0 marshmallows?
Right. What if my mom gets mad and she comes to get me? I don't see that second marshmallow. This concept is used by marketers to sell to you because they know that if they can give you something instantly, even if it's smaller, it'll be worth more than something that you have to wait for or save up for. We are wired to seek immediate gratification because of being cavemen. You don't know what's going to happen. You better eat the thing now because you could meet a saber-toothed tiger. This bias influences customer experience, satisfaction, and loyalty in shaping how customers perceive and respond to rewards and initiatives. The author of my book, Open Socrates, says that you should examine your life and that most of life is trying to avoid that. My friend Jackie talks about people she knows who can't sit alone in the room with their thoughts for 10 minutes. That's the intrusion of self-awareness, that people want to avoid it at all costs. It can be painful.
Because it's so bleak. What, I'm supposed to sit here and enjoy the thoughts of no longer existing?
I think the thought of no longer existing is an impetus to think about the life you have now. Am I having my optimal experience? Is there anything that I can do to change the things that are not serving me? I think we put on little blinders because it is painful.
Right.
Self-reflection is painful. If you take French existentialism and boil it down to the absolute bare bones, the whole concept is how long in the modern world can you stretch out the time before you inevitably have to take your own life?
I've made it a pretty good while at this point.
We both have, and I'm proud of us.
We've been really busying ourselves and not thinking about existential dread too much.
In Kurt Vonnegut's book, Cat's Cradle, he makes up a fake religion called Bokononism, where what they repeat all the time, their kind of prayer is busy, busy, busy.
That's the American way. I do live with the concept of my demise kind of in the back of my head all the time because of the way that our dad left us. Because it was so sudden and so immediate and so unplanned, and we had no idea what to do next. And I look at his life, I look at a man's life that was wasted. And so whenever I think about, oh, maybe I should put off that vacation, maybe I don't have the money for this or that, I always say no, because I'm going to die. And my credit card debt reflects that.
I think that part of being a human is the struggle to balance the desire for immediate gratification versus not to pay huge interest rates on our debt.
Right. And I went out with our sister Emily and her friend Paul. Shout out to Paul. Paul recently lost his mother in a really tragic way.
I'm sorry, Paul.
Me too. Paul has been in a holding pattern with his mother for a long time because she, like our dad, had congestive heart failure, and it was sort of a hurry up and wait situation. He's been putting his whole life on hold. He has all these dreams and plans, and it's been years and years and years that he hasn't left because he didn't want to leave when his mom passed away. We were together and he was talking about how he wants to go to Australia and he wants to do all these things. And I'm like, go, because we are all going to die. This is not forever. You don't know how long you'll have your health. You don't know how long you'll have the means that you have right now. Go do it.
Trigger warning. In this episode, we are talking about death. Is this the time to do it? 15 minutes in?
Eat the marshmallow. You're going to die.
And I think about this with relationships. I don't know how long I have with this person because no one knows how much time they have. But also, we're elderly. Sorry for people who are over 50. I know I'm being pretty capricious with the use of the word elderly. The author of this book, her feeling is that we make up urgent appointments, to-do lists, jobs, hobbies, social engagements to avoid asking big questions. Why am I doing this? Am I happy? What does my life mean? What is the meaning of life? Because it's a lot easier to answer the question, when are you going to Walmart? than it is to answer the question, when are you going to die?
Because the other piece is that I have control over when I go to Walmart. I don't know when I'm going to die.
And I think that a lot of the human experience is trying to deal with, we don't know when we're going to die. You know that I've lost a lot of people lately. They didn't know that that was their last day.
No.
They didn't know, oh, I should reach out and tell everybody that I love them because this is my last day on the planet.
That's the other part that I have. I live with a person who is often in a bad mood and mean to me. When we part ways, I insist that he says, I love you, because I don't know what's going to happen.
You and I have been talking about, and I think we talked about it in our grief episode, but the extra weight that last interaction has, it could be anything.
It really could. You have no idea. So I try to keep it positive. And when we lost our dad, my biggest regret was that I didn't keep him on the phone. But the positive is that I did definitely say, I love you, Dad, before I got off the phone. Our last conversation, he knew that I loved him. And I know he knew that anyway. There is something about the finality of it.
Next, I want to talk about events that can change your perception of time, slow time down, or speed time up. And one of them is the flow state. Popularized by the psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. It's a feeling where you are fully absorbed in what you are doing to the point where everything else seems to fade away. And this is usually something you experience when you are performing something that you are very skilled at.
I used to always think about when I was waiting tables, that was flow state, when everything was going right. When the drink order was ready, the apps were on time, everything was lining up.
Yes, you didn't have to think about each individual thing. It just flowed from one thing to another. Your actions can feel automatic. There's a loss of self-consciousness. You stop worrying about what other people think. Your self-doubt quiets down. And I think as humans, we spend a lot of time trying to quiet that little voice. You can acquire it being extremely, extremely inebriated, but also being on hallucinogenics can lower this inner voice, the self-doubt voice.
Also, if you press your tongue to the top of the roof of your mouth, it eliminates the inner voice.
Everybody try that now.
But you can't talk at the same time. That's the only problem.
The listeners can do it. Altered perception of time. In a flow state, time can either slow down or speed up. Hours might pass in what seems like minutes. And everybody's had this. You sit down to do something that you're really interested in, you're really engaged in, and then your friend or partner says, we need to leave in 2 minutes. And you have no idea where the time has gone.
I find that happens a lot when I'm at work because I'm getting into people's stories.
Yeah.
And then I look down the clock and go, oh, I'm 5 minutes past for the next person.
People talk about the flow state as, despite intense focus, it's effortlessness. That's what you mean when you were saying you were just in it and it was going by effortlessly. And I know I haven't talked about comedy in a couple minutes, and that makes everybody pretty nervous. I think that the most skilled comedians, flow state is ultimately what we want to be in. We talk to each other about, oh, I'm going to try to get some more tags. I'm going to try to write some more on stage. But what we're talking about, what we want to achieve, is the flow state on stage. When people are very good at crowd work and it's effortless and they can come up with things on the spot, they're in a flow state. That's what you're responding to. It's not that the guy in the front row had a bad divorce. What people enjoy about it is witnessing the flow state of a skilled person.
Right. And I remember talking to someone recently who was saying, you know, I've really thought about doing stand-up because I think it would just be fun. And I said, no, it won't, because you're going to be really bad at it for a really long time. You have to understand that the reason that, for example, Jerry Seinfeld does a pretty good job of seeming like he's just talking. He doesn't, right. It doesn't seem like a rehearsed thing. But the reason that it doesn't seem like a rehearsed thing is because he has rehearsed it so very many times. It looks natural.
Jerry Seinfeld has spoken specifically about practice and about repetition. And he said, when you've done a joke so many times, you are sick of it. You hate the taste of it in your mouth.
I feel the same about music. When I have written a song and I have sung it so many times that I could sing it in my sleep and I hate it so much, that's when I have it down and I could probably perform it live.
I find that even when I've just learned how to play the basic chords of something on a guitar, but when I've learned it, I have a different relationship with that song. I can hear it out of one speaker 2 miles away at a Costco, and I'll know it because it's taken up a different position in my brain. For those of us who are interested in achieving a flow state, here's a couple tips. Eliminate distractions. Focus on a single task. Flow state is not possible in multitasking, really. It'll be an activity you enjoy. Try to figure out your peak creative times. When am I most likely to enter this state? A flow state in of itself, regardless of whatever it is you're achieving, it'll increase your happiness and fulfillment, your performance and productivity. It can reduce stress and anxiety, and it boosts your feel-good brain chemicals. dopamine, serotonin. That's what we're looking for when we're looking for flow.
I find this a lot with video games, especially like sorting games. Recently, I've been playing Scrabble Go a lot, and
So have I.
if anyone wants to follow us on Scrabble Go,
Oh God, no, please don't.
there's this one ad that comes up and you play the game for a little bit to make the ad go away. It's a chicken egg sorting game. And I have found myself on many occasions just playing the chicken game for so long, it puts me in a flow state. First thing I do is I cut down the corn, feed the corn to the chickens, get the eggs, sell the eggs, and I just keep moving. And it is very relaxing to just have this constant flow.
It's a very pleasurable thing because nothing bad ever happens in that game. Your chickens never get sick. The customers never stop coming. It's just one thing leads to another thing.
I'm just stacking money basically, and it's pretty great.
Yeah. And that's how they get you, Laura, to buy the dumb game.
I know. I didn't buy the game. I just play it for free.
Right.
when I'm waiting for my next Scrabble game.
Next, I want to talk about when time slows down, because we've also talked about when you had your bad car accident and you felt like time was slowing down. You were looking at things and they were happening slower. What are your memories of that?
Our younger sister and I and some of her friends were all in the car on the feeder road of Interstate Highway 35. We were going through a very green light. It had been green.
Right.
And then I turn my head to the right and I see another car at full speed coming towards us. And I thought,
That doesn't seem right.
what's that happening? I thought, that's a joke. This isn't real. And then the next thing I knew, our car was upside down and I was watching my sister's head in slow motion hit the roof of the car.
Oof.
But it was a very calm place. I wasn't sad about it. I just thought, well, this is what's going on.
Previous guest Brandy Posey has had an experience like that where she was a very young person. She was driving a car full of people somewhere and she's on, I think, the freeway, and she realizes that the brakes are out. They're not going out. They're not thinking about going out. They're out. So she has to look around her and figure out something that she can crash the car into. And she said it was a very calm place and it was just a logical place. What can I run this car into so it stops? One of her friends asked her something and she said, oh, by the way, I have to crash the car now. And her friend was not in the same emotional state and thought it was bad, but they all got through it.
Because her friend's brain had not adapted to the information yet.
In heightened emotional states, you get the adrenaline rush, you get the fight or flight response, your nervous system kicks in. What makes memory slow down is hyperarousal. Everything is turned on. You have tunnel vision, but you are hyper observing everything that's happening around you. During events like this, your brain may record a much denser and more detailed account of the experience. And when you recall it later, the sheer volume of information processed gives the impression that the event unfolded over a longer period. Researchers have called these time expansion experiences TEEs. This can also be survival mechanism. This could be an evolutionary adaptation. Something bad is happening and you need to be able to process information and react
In a calm way. I have often thought that I would probably be pretty good at being a firefighter, not physically, but when I'm in a moment of panic, I do get really, really calm and I'm able to handle a lot of different things at the same time.
I don't. I tend to get really anxious and make weird, dumb mistakes.
Yeah.
Because my brain doesn't adapt in that way. I read an article about this a little while ago. The question in the article was, when I was a kid, I remember summer as being this endless stretch of experience and being so richly textured and having so much fun and learning so much and doing all kinds of things. And now summer starts and I say, oh, wow, it's nice out. And then it's over and I have no recollection. Why is that?
It's because you don't have the same time markers that you had when you were a kid. I noticed when I went to graduate school, because I hadn't been a student in a really long time, suddenly the seasons lasted forever because I had a final coming up or a test or a paper or something. Everything was relegated to something because I was so busy all the time. The summer was the most amazing time of my life because I had been panicking for basically a semester.
The advice on how to slow time, like you were having, to have new experiences. When you encounter new environments, situations, or stimuli, your brain has to work to process. So when you're a kid, everything is new. When you go to Disneyland, Disneyland is totally new to you. The plane is totally new. Wearing flip-flops can be totally new. But when you're an adult, you've had a breadth of experiences, Your brain just says, oh, flip-flops, I know what those are. Oh, Disneyland, I understand what that is. And you're not taking in information in the same way. So if you want to have richer, not just experiences, but memories of those experiences, the thing to do is to seek novelty, to learn new stuff, to go new places, to meet new people. That will create a more densely populated tapestry in your memory.
See, travel more and spend more money.
The last thing I want to mention in our episode about time in the brain, that's the topic. I ran across a quote from Cher,
Modern day philosopher Cher.
and she does attribute this to her mother, this quote. She has a 5-year rule. If it doesn't matter in 5 years, it doesn't matter now.
Yeah, I've been living by the Cher rule for a long time.
It doesn't matter what shoes you wear to the party. It doesn't matter whether or not your toddler has a bouncy house on their 3rd birthday. The fight you're having with your spouse about unloading the dishwasher. These things that you are so caught up in the moment, possibly as a way to distract yourself from your own eventual death. These things don't matter. Perspective is clouded with the immediacy of the problem. But if you can think about it in the long run, it probably is not going to make a huge difference in your life or anyone's life.
I talk to clients a lot about this job that they're hanging on to that they hate. In 5 years, these people aren't going to remember you. You're not going to remember them, and they don't matter.
No one at work is going to remember you except your best friend, the person you talk to every day. They might. I've had a little bit of an insight into this because I left. People are glad to see me, but they haven't been actively thinking about me because I haven't been around. And that's
because you are inconsequential in their life, right?
That's okay to realize.
I think about the first job that I ever had, my first big girl job. I remember thinking, this is my whole life. I remember I was babysitting their daughter on the weekends. I was spending all my free time with them. I was hanging out with my coworkers all the time. And I remember thinking, I can never leave this place. This is my whole life and experience. How many of those people do I talk to now? Zero.
Also, time when you're younger and time when you're older is funny. I had a job in college that I held longer than any job I'd ever had. Everybody was amazed that I'd worked there for so long, and it was 2 years. I'm king of the mountain. I pretty much run this place.
Yeah, that grown-up job I had for 4 years. I thought it was my entire life because I think at that point, it probably professionally, it was my first career job. 4 years felt significant.
It is funny when younger people will leave a position and they'll say things like, and we're still going to hang out. And I'll smile, but I'm like, no, we won't. Because I've had this experience over and over again.
I'm never going to see you again.
I might be your friend on Facebook, but this is the last time we're probably going to be in the same room, except by accident.
So, Virginia, what are your final thoughts on this topic?
I think that the through line to this topic is to try to stay in the moment. Try to, whenever you can, take a longer view of the things that are stressing you out and freaking you out. Will this matter in 5 years? Will this matter in 3 months? This is going to help you have a more well-rounded view of your own life. And don't be afraid to ask yourself the big questions. It's painful. Laura, what are your final thoughts on this topic?
You brought up this idea of 15 minutes. I use that in terms of trauma. When I'm in a really bad situation, if I can just get through the next 15 minutes, then I'm okay. If I'm in a car accident or if I'm having a really bad conversation, I just need to get through the next 15 minutes and I'll be okay. I think you have to go back to the idea that our brains are not built for longevity. Our brains are not built for much of anything except continuing to populate the earth. Immediate survival. This is what our brain is built for. That's what we do best. We don't do best at pondering life's big questions because that's not what we're built for. I think until very, very recently, human beings didn't have the opportunity to think about anything or navel gaze because we were literally just trying to get food and go to the bathroom, take a nap. We were just trying to survive. So this kind of expansive logic stuff is more of a privilege than anything else. The thing I said to Paul is the thing I say to everybody. You are going to die. Remember that. And you don't know when it's going to happen. You don't know how it's going to happen. And you don't know how long you have because Virginia and I are learning the hard way that
life is finite.
We're not all going to live to 100 like we thought we were going to. Enjoy what you can while you can and do your best to let everyone around you know that you love them.
It is a funny idea, the final words. And that's very rarely someone's last words because you don't know that they're your last words. Your last words might be, I have to go to the toilet, or I didn't think Smurfs 2 was very good.
You always get back to Smurfs 2. That was a fine film. I really liked Joseph Smith's final words, and now I die.
And now I die. Ta-da! What better last words were there for a showman?
A religious leader, and now I die.
I die. So long, suckers.
Yeah.
Joseph Smith out.
We do have way too much emphasis on the final moments. I think that's another important part. The last second of your life doesn't matter. It's everything else that happened before that.
Big picture, as much as you can, live in the moment, appreciate what you have. If something is not serving you, get rid of it. It doesn't matter how long you've had it or what other people think. I said it before, when I was in a relationship that was going badly, I finally told him, I only have one life and you're making it bad. You have to go. I just feel that that's a very cut and dry way of going about it. I only have this. I don't believe in a God.
But even if I do believe in a God, I'm only going to be this person for this period.
If he existed, wouldn't want
Why are
me
you
to
saying
be.
he? What is this he? Nonsense.
And God, if she existed, wouldn't want me to be unhappy. What does that serve anyone?
You have to ask yourself, let's presume, as I do, that there is something that happens after we pass. Why would I be living in this meat suit and having this experience if not to grow and learn and have a positive experience? Why would I be on this planet just to suffer?
And also, speaking to something we were talking about this week, I think we all land on a different why for their life. But I think a lot of them are going to be similar. For me, the whole reason to be here, to be walking around in this vessel that is frequently uncomfortable and sometimes is wearing unattractive shoes, is to connect with other people, to be creative, to exchange ideas. My job is not to be the thinnest person I can be. My job is not to make the most money I could possibly make. Those are not things that I value and put importance on.
Those who do that and maybe are not super evolved and need to grow up a little bit.
Laura, where can people find you on the internet if they wish to do so?
If they want to pursue a professional relationship with me, you can find me at lauraryan.org. Also, be sure to live in the state of Texas. I have gotten some lovely emails from listeners and I really appreciate it. If they want to find me on the TikTok, they can find me at I am Laura Ryan. If they're interested in following our show on Instagram, they can go to my Sisters a Therapist Instagram page. And if they want to go to our website, if you don't want to get into all the pod apps, just go to mysistersatherapist.com. You can listen to all of our episodes there. Virginia, if people want to find out what you're going to be doing for the next 15 minutes, how would they go about doing that?
You can find my schedule on my website, which is Badinia, BADINIA.com. I have a calendar marked upcoming dates. You can also look at my TikTok, which is under BADINIA, or my Instagram, which is BADINIA. If you would like to reach out to the podcast with a topic idea or just to beg Laura to do illegal therapy across state lines, you can reach us at hello@mysistersatherapist.com. If you would like to hire us for any reason,
not any reason. If you would like to hire us for a moral or ethical reason,
if you would like to hire us for something that we can morally get behind, you can write us at hireus@mysistersatherapist.com. We are available for Mormon baptisms, a bris. We're available to officiate weddings. We're not qualified to do it yet, but I'm pretty sure we can do it.
We have the energy. We have the vibes. We're also here for any women's conference or women's weekend or women's retreat, anything involving women mostly. We're here for it.
I have recently been the host for an evening of tribute in a memorial, so we know that we can do that.
If you want to have us as your guests on your podcast, let us know at hireus@mysistersatherapist.com.
Laura, now is the time where you sometimes read a nice comment or review that someone has left us. Do you have one to share this week?
I do. I'm going to mix it up. We're going to read an email from a listener. This is from Shannon. Thank you so much for addressing the life issue that I have not been able to adequately convey to my therapist, sisters, and best friend. My disappointment with Morrissey becoming kind of racist. My disappointment with Morrissey becoming some kind of racist weirdo after he had been my first love has changed the way that I thought about myself. And after he'd raised me from like age 14, he is unrelatable now. And we used to be the same. Shannon, I feel that
beautifully said, man.
That sentiment is so deep in my bones. I almost, in my mind, I think I have sort of separated past Morrissey from current Morrissey. The guy that I loved is gone. And then this weird guy who sort of looks like him and sounds like him has taken over. And it's been one of the biggest travesties and sadnesses of my life.
Well said, Shannon, for one. And two, an artist becomes part of your identity. And that person lets you down, Neil Gaiman. It's so painful. Think about all the way that they touched your life, which now seem invalid. Basically, you can't trust men.
Shannon, and also all of our other listeners. First of all, thank you so much for emailing us. And secondly, tell your mom Tell your therapist, tell your sister, tell your friends, tell literally anyone you know what a great podcast this is and how people can all learn about my hot takes on Morrissey.
To close the show, we would like to just spend a moment in recalling the words of our Lord and Savior, Billy Ray Valentine, Capricorn, as he said, "We can make it, baby. Me and you." Bye-bye.
Bye.